Imagine, 3 days after she had given birth, carrying more pain than most known, told to leave the house that once held their promises, the door closed behind her with a sound that echoes 1,000 loud vows. She stepped into the wet night, the newborn pressed close to her as she walked without plan. It was a third night after Bridget gave birth. The sky was heavy with rain clouds. The raindrop fell in soft rhythm at first, then faster, louder, until it was almost like drums on the roof. Inside their small room, a dim yellow bulb hung from the ceiling. The light was weak, but it was enough to see Bridget sitting on the bed. Her hair was messy from sleepless nights. Her eyes had shadows under them, but there was a glow on her face. In her arm, a tiny baby. The little one slept quietly, breathing in that sweet, gentle way only newborn do. Bridget looked down at her child and smiled. The door creaked open. Her husband, Saga, walked in. But something about his face made Bridget's heart sink. He was not smiling. He was not even looking at his baby. His eyes were cold. Bridget, he said, his voice low. We need to talk. Bridget adjusted the baby in her arm. Yes, Saga, is everything alright? His next word broke her heart. You and the baby cannot stay here. You must leave tonight. 3 days after she gave birth, the man who promised her forever, the man who held her hand during labor, was now throwing her out. She couldn't believe her ears. Saga, what are you saying? I just gave birth. Where will I go? She asked. But his eyes stayed cold. I don't care. I cannot do this anymore. Leave. The baby held her hand tight, as if sensing the storm around there. Bridget's lip trembled. Please, Saga, we can talk about this. Minutes later, the door shut behind her. The rain poured harder. The cold bit into her skin. She held her baby tighter and stepped into the dark streets, not knowing where her feet would carry her. Saga had been carrying every secret from years ago. A mistake, a crime that hid from everyone. Something that, if it came out, it would destroy his name forever. And then, bad men found out about it. They began to threaten him. They told him, give us something valuable, or we will tell the world what you did. At that time, someone showed him a picture of Bridget talking to another man. They told him that the baby wasn't his. They filled his head with lies, feeding the fire of his fear. The men told him, we can take her away for you. We can make your problem disappear. And Saga, instead of protecting his wife, he agreed. That night, wandering through the rain, Bridget met a woman named Madame Ruth. Madame Ruth seems kind. She gave Bridget food. She gave her warm blankets and even let her sleep on a small bed in the house. For 2 days, Bridget believed she had found safe place. She thought at least one person still had a heart. But on the third night, Bridget overheard voices outside. One man's voice said, she would want good money. There would be a buyer. Bridget's heart froze. The next morning, she saw something that made her blood run cold. Saga was at the gate. It was talking to two strange men, and Madame Ruth was smiling at them. In that moment, Bridget understood everything. Madame Ruth wasn't an helper. She was part of the trafficking ring, and the men had come to take her away and to take her baby. One of the men stepped closer. You are lucky, he said to Bridget. They will take you now. Saga nodded. Take her. I don't want this burden. Bridget was speechless. Her own husband, the father of her child, had set her up. Fear gripped Bridget's chest. But then something stronger rose up. She clutched her baby and ran. She ran through the narrow streets, past the market where people were shouting price for fish and vegetables. But no one knew she was running for her life. Finally, she reached a woman's shelter. She begged them, please hide me. Later that day, the police got involved. They followed the phone call. Madam Ruth got arrested. The traffickers were also arrested, and Saga was arrested too. In the courts, the truth spilled out. Saga had not only agreed to give Bridget to the traffickers, he had actually called them himself. The plan was simple. They would sell Bridget, take the baby, and pay Saga. The traffickers also revealed his secrets. The crime he had hidden years ago. That was why he feared them, and why he betrayed his own wife. The church listened, and Saga was sent to prison. Bridget never went back to Saga's house. She stayed at a shelter provided by the government for months. She learned to sew baby blankets there, and she started selling them at the market. Months later, she saved enough money to rent a small room. Her baby, now a little boy, learned to laugh again. Saga sent letters from prison, begging for forgiveness. But Bridget chose peace. One sunny morning, Bridget packed her things. She took her son by hand and went home to her mother. Her mother welcomed her with tears of joy. They started a small business together, selling baby clothes and blankets. Bridget began to teach other women how to sew. Her store became more than a business. It became a place of hope. Her son grew up in a house filled with love and not fear. Bridget never went back to her husband. She did not forget the pain, but she chose not to live in it. This is the end of the story. Remember this, sometimes the bravest thing you can do is to walk away from what breaks you and build something better with what is left. I hope you enjoyed this story.